You've done your statement of comprehensive income test, and now you're going to look at the answers. On your score sheet, see which ones you didn't get full marks for, check through the video, find out how you could have got full marks. So question 1. Millie has sold 400 waffles at £2.50 each. You need to calculate her sales revenue for 2 marks. Remember, always show you're working, so even if you make a calculation error, you still pick up a mark. So the formula we need to use is sales revenue equals price times amount sold. If we look here, we can see the price was £2.50, the amount sold was 400, £2.50 times 400 equals £1,000. You have 2 marks if you've written that. Question 2 was a very tricky question, which threw quite a lot of people, but it was one taken from a real exam, so we need to be prepared to think on our feet. If we have a look at the template they gave us, it's quite a nasty template with lots of odd boxes on it, and that's why quite a few people got caught out. First of all, we need to calculate the sales revenue. There are 2 sales revenues, the food and the drink, and we needed to add them together to 83,000, put them in the first box, which is the subtotal, and then put it in the total box. A little bit odd that it gave the subtotal there. The second one is the cost of sales, and this is the cost of providing the product, so making the waffles, putting them in boxes, and making the shakes. So we have 2 here. We have the food supplies and the drinking cups, and if we add those 2 together, we get a cost of sales of 25,150. So then to calculate our gross profit, we take the cost of sales from the sales revenue, giving us a gross profit of 57,850. Next, we have our expenses, and they are the 4 other things on the list. So we have the wages, which were 13,300. We have light, heat and power at 4,500. Telephone and internet at 2,000, and the promotional leaflets at £1,000. We add those together and our expenses are 20,800. And then what we do to calculate our net profit is we take our expenses from the gross profit, giving us a net profit of £37,050. Even though question 3 looks quite unpleasant, actually it's probably one of the easiest ones because the exam board give you the equations that you need to use. So you've been asked to calculate the gross profit margin and the net profit margin for both years. So first of all, we're going to do the gross profit margin for 2017. To do that, you take the gross profit, 42,000, you divide it by the sales revenue, 52,000, and then times it by 100, just like it says in the equation there. And the answer is 80.8% or 81%. We're going to do the same now and calculate it for 2018. So in this case, we take the 47,000, we divide it by the 65,000, times it by 100, and in this case it's 72.3% or 72. The net profit margin is the same process. You're given the equation, so you put the figures in, and for 2017 we go 3,000 divided by 52,000 times it by 100 gives 5.8, or if no decimal places we'll go for 6%. And finally for 2018 we take the 5,000 divided by the 65,000 times it by 100. The answer is 7.7 or 8% depending on your rounding. Each one of those is worth 1 mark, that is 4 marks. Question 4 is quite a tricky one because you're asked to explain why Millie would calculate her gross profit margin and her net profit margin. So you have to remember to state the obvious in this sort of question. The first thing we need to say is, what will this show her? So Millie would want to calculate her gross profit margin as it will show her how much of her sales revenue she will keep as gross profit, or if you look at it the other way around, how much she's spending on raw materials. So you've just said what it's going to show her. Now we're going to do the net profit margin. Similarly, her net profit margin will show her how much of each pound earned is kept as net profit, or how much she has spent on costs. Now, we've said what they will show her. We now need to say how she would use it, because that's the reason why she's calculated it. So she would use it she'd be able to compare one event to another or 1 year to another, like we calculated before. Should be able to see if they're profitable or not. Calculating things would help her focus on what costs she should try and reduce or whether she'd put her prices up. And if she looked at the figures from question 3, she'd see that 2018 was a more profitable year and she would be able to learn from this. So 2 stages, what do they show her, how she would use it. Now, Millie's promotional leaflets include a coupon offering a 10% discount to customers buying 4 or more waffles. You work out it could impact gross profit depending on how the promotion works. Explain how gross profit could be affected by customers using the promotional discount. Now, the key thing here is to read the question. We could all probably write about whether the 10% discount was a good idea, but we've been asked how it affects gross profit, and they're the only marks you're going to get for it. So, first of all, if Millie offered a 10% discount on waffles, it could reduce her gross profit, as she would be earning less money per waffle, so her revenue would fall. They would still cost the same to make, so she'd be earning less gross profit. So I've said, potentially, if she doesn't sell any more, her gross profit will fall, and I've been using the terms such as revenue and gross profit. Now, in other ways, we could consider it could actually be beneficial for her. So I'm looking at the other side of it, because we've got up here depending on how the promotion works. So, however, if the amount of waffles she sold went up as people are attracted by the discount, her overall revenue would go up, even though her cost of sales would also go up. The discount is quite small and it could result in an increase in her gross profit. So I've said, oh, gross profit could go up, oh, gross profit could go down, and I've explained why using the terms revenue and cost of sales, the 2 things we use to calculate gross profit. This needs to be quite a precise answer. Question 6, the last one. Millie wants you to consider what will make this promotion successful. Suggest how this promotion will lead to an increase in net profit. So remember, we are talking about net profit. That's what it's about. So I'm first of all going to start off by saying what net profit is. So net profit is calculated by the revenue minus cost of sales minus expenses. So I now know what I'm talking about. I'm then going to move on to say this promotion could lead to an increase in revenue as the offer would encourage people to buy more. Yeah. This in turn would increase the cost of sales as she would be using more ingredients and waffle boxes. And then finally, however, the expenses would stay the same as they are not connected to how many waffles she sells. So this could lead to an overall increase in net profit. So all I'm doing is I'm saying how net profit is calculated and commenting on the parts and how they're affected by this promotion. And then I'll get 4 marks.